The thesis for today will be regarding Train to Busan and how it uses the zombie genre to argue that South Korea's real crisis is not biological but institutional, and that the systems meant to protect ordinary people from corporations to the government to class hierarchy itself are the true source of death in Korean society. I want to start with a question. What are the zombies in Train to Busan actually a metaphor for? The easy answer is disease or chaos or the fear of other. But I want to argue something more specific, and that's in Train to Busan, the zombies are what happens when a society abandons its own people. And the real horror of this film is not the infected, it's every scene where an uninfected person closes the door on someone who needs help. Train to Busan is a zombie film. However, it's also a precise diagnosis of what director Yoon Sang-ho believes is broken in South Korean society. And that's the selfishness that extreme competition produces, the failure of institutions to protect ordinary people, and the cost of prioritizing individual survival over collective responsibility. Today, I want to argue that Train to Busan is not escapist horror. It's a film about what Korean capitalism does to human beings, and what it would take to be different. Train to Busan came out in 2016, but the wounds it's drawing on are older. In April 2014, the Seoul ferry disaster killed 304 people, most of them high school students on a field trip. The ship sank slowly and there was time to evacuate, but the captain ordered passengers to stay in their cabins. The Coast Guard response was also disorganized. The government's crisis management failed publicly and catastrophically. President Park Geun-hye did not appear for 7 hours after the sinking was reported. The Seoul disaster became a defining national trauma, not just because of the deaths, but because of what it revealed, that Korean institutions, when tested, would not protect ordinary people, and that the systems in place served the powerful and not the vulnerable. Director Yoon Sang-ho has never explicitly said that Train to Busan is about Seoul. He doesn't need to. Korean audiences in 2016 understood this immediately. It's a disaster, a slow institutional response where ordinary people are left to survive on their own. Children dying, meanwhile adults in authority fail them. The zombie outbreak in this film is not random. It is the logical conclusion of a society that was already failing its people before the first infected person appeared on screen. Here is my first analytical argument. Train to Busan structures its moral universe entirely around class. The protagonist Sok-woo is a hedge fund manager. The film opens by showing us, in about 90 seconds, everything wrong with him. He misses his daughter's recital, he gives her a gift he already gave her before and doesn't even remember. And when asked what he does for work, he says he makes money for himself. His own daughter tells him he should be more like someone who helps other people. Against him, the film places Sang-hwa, a working-class man, physically large and emotionally direct, who repeatedly sacrifices his own safety for strangers. The contrast is not accidental. Yoon Sang-ho is arguing that the values produced by Korean corporate capitalism, self-interest, risk calculation, the prioritization of personal survival, are morally equivalent to the zombie behavior they're trying to escape. And then there's Yeon-suk, the COO who becomes the film's true human villain. He manipulates other passengers into danger to protect himself. He locks doors. He makes calculation about whose life is worth saving. He is, in this film's logic, the most infected person on the train. Not biologically, but ideologically. He has fully internalized the logic of Korean corporate hierarchy, and that some lives matter more than others based on status and power. The zombie apocalypse doesn't create these values, it just removes the social aspect that was hiding them. My second argument is about what the film proposes as the alternative to corporate selfishness, and it's rooted in something specifically Korean. The moral center of Train to Busan is not individualism, it is family obligation and collective sacrifice, values that map directly onto Koreans' cultural inheritance. In conflict and ethics, the individual is always understood in relations to others, parent to child, husband to wife, individual to community. Your identity and your moral worth are defined by how you fulfill your relational obligations. Sok-woo's entire character arc is a journey from a man who has abandoned those obligations and who prioritizes financial success over presence, over connection, and over his own daughter back towards them. His redemption is not a personal achievement, it is sacrifice. He dies so his daughter can live, and that is the Confucian resolution, the restoration of proper relational obligation even at the cost of the self. And look at Sang-hwa, the working class man. He survives longer than almost anyone because he instinctively operates by collective logic. He protects strangers, he holds doors, and he coordinates. His values are strong, and they belong to an older Korea, communal Korea, before the IMF restructuring told everyone to optimize for individual survival. Yoon Sang-ho is not being nostalgic here. He's making the argument that the values Korean capitalism replaced, community, obligation, collective responsibility, were actually what kept people alive. And their loss is not just cultural, it's something that's very lethal. At the end of Train to Busan, the two survivors, Soko's daughter and a pregnant woman, emerge from a tunnel into a military checkpoint. The soldiers almost shoot them. Then one of them hears the little girl singing, and they stand down. That image, a child's voice stopping a bullet, is what the film believes in. Not institutions, not hierarchy, and not corporate logic. A human voice, a human connection. The thing that gets lost when society tells everyone to compete instead of cooperate. Train to Busan is a zombie film, but it is also a film about what South Korea lost in the process of becoming an economic miracle and what it would cost to get it back. The zombies are fast and they're terrifying, but that's not the point. The point is every door that gets closed on someone who needs help. The point is every calculation made about whose life is worth saving. The point is a hedge fund manager learning too late that the only thing that ever mattered was his daughter. And that is not a horror story. That's a Korean story. And right now, honestly, it's everyone's story.